2025 was a fantastic year for video games. We got some of the most anticipated games of all time, revivals of series people thought were long dead, and some of the greatest original games to be released. With all of this, I did notice an odd trend with some of the releases this year. There were a strange number of racing games that came out. Maybe this isn't that unusual, but this is the first time where I've noticed that 3 major racing games were coming out in the same year in close proximity to one another. So I wanted to go over each and try to find out which is the best among them. Now, enough of this preamble.
Let's get right into it! The first big kart racer to be released in 2025 was Mario Kart World. And not only was this a launch title for the Switch 2, but this was set up as a system seller for the console. The one game everyone should have. The true successor to Mario Kart 8. Those are some pretty big shoes to fill. So does this game live up to that? Yeah?
The main selling point of the game is the fact it takes place in an open world map. But it isn't just exploration you could do here, as we also have a plethora of side objectives. Scattered throughout the world are Peach medallions, question mark panels, and P-switch challenges. All these collectibles are designed in a way to challenge or teach the player, which is honestly the smartest way to teach the players some of the cool tricks you can perform in this game, with the brand new charge jump mechanic. By holding down the R button when not turning, you will start to charge a jump. When the charge is complete, you can release it to a full jump. These jumps can be used to access the other 2 mechanics added to the game, rail grinding and wall riding. While it isn't mandatory to use charge jumps to do these maneuvers, plenty of shortcuts and routes were designed with you charge jumping onto a wall or a rail in mind. Now you might be curious about the rewards for doing, collecting, and completing these free roam activities. It's stickers. Just stickers. You could make the argument that the real reward is the journey it took you to complete these objectives, but that's stupid.
Okay, that's enough free roam talk. Let's get to the main reason you buy a Mario Kart game. The racing. Like any racing game, we have the Grand Prix mode, where you can partake in cups.
Mushroom Cup is a pretty standard tutorial cup for the game, and does a pretty good job at introducing rail grinding and charge jumps to the player. Mario Bros. Circuit is honestly one of the best circuit tracks in the entire series. It has a fun layout, good shortcuts, and one of the most inspired aesthetics for a circuit, with it taking heavy inspiration from Southwestern America. After that, we got Crown City. It's another city-inspired course, which we've gotten a lot of, especially on 8. But this is the first time Nintendo has had us traverse areas that aren't just the highway. We're riding atop buildings, hopping from road to road, being held up by canes, before gliding down to a main street with several different paths to pick from. It's really cool to see this kind of track design for a city course, which we haven't really had anything like this before in a Mario Kart game. Next up is Whistletop Summit, a train station that encompasses an entire mountain. This course is basically grind rails to track. I'm pretty sure there isn't any section of this track that doesn't have a grind rail somewhere. And I like this track a lot for that reason. Riding, boosting, and jumping between grind rails is insanely fun to perform, and can be very rewarding at points. And to top off this cup, we have DK Spaceport, a futuristic reimagining of the original Donkey Kong arcade game. This is one of the most fun tracks in the entire game. The whole gimmick of this course is that each lap has a different obstacle to overcome. Each of these obstacles are really enjoyable to try and avoid, especially the wall obstacles, as you can jump like crazy between them. Overall, a great finisher for the cup, and really sets the bar high for final tracks and courses going forward. The second cup is Flower Cup. It has a great lineup of tracks, except for the first track. For some ungodly reason, Nintendo decided to bring back Desert Hills, one of, if not the worst desert track in the series. Well, did they improve it at least? No. They actually made it worse. The pyramids? Gone. The Pokies and Fire Snakes? Replaced. The vibrant yellow sand? Dulled down to look more realistic. The Oasis? Smaller and moved to the starting line, where it's barely noticeable. The hills? Gone. The whole reason why this track is called Desert Hills was removed from the track. The only change you could call good is the Tokotokos replacing the old enemy hazards, but at the same time, we could have still had the Pokies and Fire Snakes in the track. It's not like there's a limit on enemies that can appear on a course. Going from the worst desert track in the franchise to one of the best, we have Shy Guy Bazaar, returning from Mario Kart 7. This version of Shy Guy Bazaar has been stuffed full of shortcuts and grind rails, which makes it such an improvement upon the original, and adds so much variety when racing on it. It also looks really pretty now. Next in line is Wario Stadium, which has been transformed from the worst track of 64 to one of the best here. It's been heavily shortened and a ton of grind rails have been added, allowing us to perform some of the cleanest shortcuts in the game. This right here is how you improve a bad track. Next up, we have Airship Fortress, and oh man! Now this is a track! Immaculate theming, one of the funnest track designs in the entire franchise, enjoyable obstacles to avoid, and fantastic set pieces all around! If not for Desert Hills, this lineup would be one of the best cups in the game! Seriously, why did they pick that? Dry Ruins is right there! Next up is Star Cup, and it's a pretty solid cup. However, it's a bit lacking in some areas. Starview Park is just boring. It doesn't really have anything visually interesting about it, despite the grandiose feel it tries to give off. And the map layout is basically just two circles stitched together. Massive missed opportunity to have us race inside this Comet Observatory looking place. I mean, we do for the gliding section of the track, but come on. That's like 2 seconds. It would have been so much cooler if we could do the entire race inside the Comet Observatory, or at the very least, go in and out of it multiple times. Wario Shipyard is definitely a downgrade from its 7 version, both with the visuals and the fact that the underwater sections were moved above water. Those underwater sections really added to the whole ship graveyard feel to the track, so having them brought to the surface feels wrong and ruins the tone. I guess they try to make up for that by changing the entire color palette to be a bit more darker and gloomier, but this just makes the track look worse. It's called Wario Shipyard. There should be a strong Wario presence felt in the track. The one change Nintendo did here I actually kind of liked was swapping out the fishbone mantle for a wooden pirate Wario one. The wooden Wario looks really cool and does fit the track a lot more than the fishbone did. But at the same time, the fishbone did have a cool ribcage thing going on, so it's a kind of give or take situation here. The one track that surprised me from this cup is shockingly Sky High Sunday. I always liked the aesthetics of this course, but it was just so boring and slow in 8. Here, there are a lot more branching paths to take, 6 shortcuts to perform, and oh so many grind rails to take. You know, I really do like the trend in this game of redeeming a lot of the more poorly received tracks from previous games, and making them actually good here. It's a bit hit or miss with some of them, but hey, they're trying! Oh, and DK Pass is also here. It's fine, nothing really that good or bad about it. I like that one shortcut you can do in the track now, that one's pretty cool. After that, we have the Shell Cup, and this is one of the worst cups in the game. Possibly the whole series. Koopa Troopa Beach is just a small circle you go around 5 times. There are no cool tricks you can do here, no grind rails, no nothing. To give this track some credit, it can kinda be a bit chaotic and fun in the later half of the laps, where the placement does actually start to matter. But on the other hand, it's so boring until that point, and the track is too wide to truly create any sort of chaos. Crown City, despite sharing the name of the track from the Mushroom Cup, shares nothing with that version. For this track, we drive on the road for a bit, go into an alleyway, end up on the beach, and that's it. Where did all that creativity from the first Crown City go? Could Nintendo not think of another way to make this gigantic city more fun to race around? Okay, to be fair, there is some elevation in this alley, and the turn into the alley itself is a half pipe with a lot of graffiti on it, but other than that, there's nothing else going on here. It's also shockingly short. I'm pretty sure this is one of, if not the shortest track in the entire game. Which isn't a bad thing in itself, the problem comes in when you only race on this track for 1 lap. I think the idea of having 2 tracks taking place in the same area is pretty interesting, but you have to make both of them very distinct and creative from one another. Like, imagine if this track were us driving through the sewers and underground metro of Crown City. It would be a great contrast to the first Crown City, and could lead to some really cool and fun track design, instead of being a rushed, unplanned track that was clearly only made because Nintendo realized they couldn't fit any more courses on the open world. But that's enough harping about that. Let's move on to Peach Stadium, which is without a shadow of a doubt the worst track in the game. It's just an oval. A very boring and bland oval, with cars that are desperately trying to make this track more interesting. At least with Koopa Troopa Beach, it has a Baby Park vibe to it, with how it can become chaotic very fast. But with Peach Stadium, you only race on it for 1 lap, so you don't have nearly enough time to get the chaos started. The only good track from this cup is Faraway Oasis. It's a creative track with us driving through a wharf in the savannah, with us constantly driving in and out of the water. There are quite a lot of fun railings around here, and a sick-ass waterfall towards the end. It's genuinely such a great track that's surrounded by some of the worst this game has to offer. Thankfully, the Banana Cup is a lot better than this. Peach Beach is a really cool reimagining of the track from Double Dash. Its first lap shares the same structure as its GameCube counterpart, albeit with some additional shortcuts to make it not as boring as the original. The real interesting part comes in after lap 1, as we now venture into the beach town and start driving on top and on the sides of buildings. Then in lap 3, we ride in the coastal waters surrounding Peach Beach. Okay, the third lap kind of sucks, but there are some shortcuts to take here, so there's that. This is such a massive glow up for Peach Beach, an insanely imaginative way to revitalize what used to be a pretty mid track. And guess what? Nintendo did it again with Dino Dino Jungle. What used to be a generic jungle track with a single dinosaur in the middle has been transformed into a Jurassic Park inspired track with several different dinosaurs scattered across it, multiple of which you can drive on. It has the exact same layout as the GameCube version. All that was done was making the theming more inspired, which completely transformed the way I see this track. The other 2 tracks apart of this cup are also pretty good. Salty Salty Speedway is a really cool Venice-inspired track with some cool tricks here and there. And Great Question Mark Block Ruins has us race on floating ruins above the clouds, where you need to race across these segmented roads connected by chains. It has one of, if not the coolest charge jump trick you can do in the game. Following up is the Leaf Cup, and it's another pretty good cup. Cheep Cheep Falls is a Japanese-inspired track where we travel through a Zen garden, then into a rushing stream full of Cheep Cheep trying to travel upstream. This is another really creative idea for a track, and it's able to create such a controlled, chaotic feel while traversing through the stream section, which makes it really fun to play. It's also one of the only water sections in the game I would call good. Dandelion Depths is one of the prettiest tracks in the game, with this beautiful cenote that's surrounded by Steam Garden-inspired architecture, one of the few Mario Odyssey references in the game. But aside from the beauty of this course, it's fine, just another circle track. Boo Cinema is Boo Cinema. It has you traverse through a theater for the first half, then has you go through the screen and into the movie for the second half. Is that not one of the coolest things ever? I do wish, however, that the theater section wasn't just another circle, and a bit more inspired than just having it be a normal theater. I mean, come on, this is Boo Cinema. You couldn't do a bit more spooky theming to the theater section that isn't just making everything gray? To finish off this cup, we have Dry Bones Burnout, one of the best tracks in the game. It has immaculate theming with the Day of the Dead imagery all over the place, and us traversing across the remains of a gigantic dry bones submerged in lava is so cool. And for the actual track itself, there are several different elevations you can drive on, which adds a lot of variety and strategy when racing. We have now reached the penultimate cup, the Lightning Cup, and it's definitely one of the better cups in the game. We start with Moo Moo Meadows, and controversial opinion here, but I don't really like Moo Moo Meadows that much. It's a fine track with nothing wrong with it. I just find it a little bland and boring. This is also the 3rd game in the row to have Moo Moo Meadows, so did we really need to come back again? I would have much rather taken a reimagining of Moo Moo Farm, similar to what happened to Peach Beach, Wario Stadium, and Dino Dino Jungle, than Moo Moo Meadows again. Next up, we have Choco Mountain, which I'm really conflicted on. Looking at this track in a vacuum, it's pretty good. It's a fun course with lots of turns, obstacles to avoid, and great theming, with it being a monster truck stadium in the shape of a monster truck. But this is supposed to be Choco Mountain, a chocolate mountain that sometimes has a mine shaft in it. Where is any of that here? There is no mountain, that is most definitely not chocolate, and there is no mining in sight. I'm all up for reimagining classic courses, but this is such a drastic change. I don't even like Choco Mountain to begin with, but when reimagining a track, you have to be somewhat faithful to the original. At least after that we have Toad Factory, baby! What is there to say that hasn't already been said before? Having a track that takes place in a factory that makes item boxes is ingenious. Despite the simple design of the track, each section features fun obstacles, and with the additional world, charge jump and rail grinding shortcuts. This is genuinely one of the best tracks in the game, and one of the best in the entire series, and I'm glad to see it finally return in a game. To top this cup off, we have this game's version of Bowser's Castle, and this is the best Bowser's Castle ever. We start off by going through this control room with 2 branching paths. Then, we take a big turn outside with a ton of lava to avoid, where we then get shot up into stormy clouds above, where a fire cloud Bowser is grabbing the track. We then have to drive through its maw and glide to a disconnected piece of track with meteors falling all over the place before making a mad dash to the finish line. I don't think any Bowser's Castle track has ever tried anything this wild before, and this track is so fun to race on because of it. It is, for sure, one of the best tracks in the game, and a great ending for this cup. And we have now reached the final cup in the game, the Special Cup. And it's good. The first track is Acorn Heights, and I don't really like this track. Objectively speaking, it is a pretty solid course with lots of different paths, tons of turns, and a cool spring theme. But personally, I don't really like it. It just feels like it's trying to be a spring version of Maple Treeway, and I would have much rather had Maple Treeway than this. I'm gonna be honest, I think my love for Maple Treeway is getting in the way of me being able to look at this track in a good light. Next up, we got Mario Circuit!
But wait, this Mario Circuit is a combination of 1, 2, and 3, so it isn't just regular Mario Circuit!
This is honestly the best way to do a SNES track. It creates a melody or greatest hits kind of feel. And if you've seen my previous videos, you know how to feel about melodies. It's also just a fun track too, with tons of turns and shortcuts throughout. And since every lap is a different Mario Circuit, it really feels like one long and fun track to do. Alright, next up we got Peach Stadium. Okay, I guess we're doing another duplicate course. Didn't think there'd be 2 in this game. Thankfully, it's more than just an oval this time. Unfortunately, the track is still kind of boring. It's just Starview Park, but without the water and gliding segments, and it suffers the exact same problems I had with that course. This isn't even that interesting for a Peach track. This is the 4th time where we've just raced around her castle. Is it that hard to think of something more interesting for a Peach track? What about a bakery, an amusement park, or just anything that isn't a castle? To end off this cup and the tracks in this game is, of course, Rainbow Road. And this is one of the best Rainbow Roads in the series, and one of the best tracks in Mario Kart, period. The first 2 laps has us racing in the usual Rainbow Road fare, with the track wrapping itself around the clouds, which looks beautiful, might I add. In lap 3, we break through the clouds and land on floating islands full of bioluminescent water and crystals. Then, after going through some twisting paths, we get launched into a space station for lap 4 that features tight turns and mechanical rainbow thwomps to avoid. After getting launched out of the space station, it's a mad dash for the finish line, as you have to race on these intertwining tracks that twist and turn with one another before launching you off to the finish line. What a fun and gorgeous track that pays tribute to nearly every Rainbow Road that came before it. When I first played this track, I cried. No joke, this track was so beautiful, I legitimately started to cry. It wasn't like a full-blown sob or anything, but this track was a marvel to play and see for the first time. Truly a fantastic track to end not only this cup on, but the game as a whole.
Okay, so if you played this game before, you've probably realized I've neglected to mention a big part about these cups. The intermission laps. After completing the first course in the cup, you and everyone else have to drive to the next track, which is what is called an intermission lap. In theory, I like the intermissions. Driving to the next course is a really cool and unique concept, and it allows you to see more of the open world the game has to offer. But in practice, it kills any replayability the Cups could have had.
I will admit, first time playing through the Cups, I like the intermission laps. But replaying all the Cups again for this video really started to show some of the flaws and made me hate the intermissions a lot. All of the intermissions are just straight lines, and it is so boring to play on them. Some of them definitely do try to be fun and exciting at points, but there's only so much you can do to make straight lines interesting. Honestly, driving on the actual highway is more fun than this.
It's not.
Intermissions also take up laps from the actual tracks, so we only get one lap for every course after the first one in a cup. This completely ruins any sort of replayability the Cups could have had. When I want to play Dino Dino Jungle, I don't want to spend 2 minutes driving there to only race one lap on it. There are only two exceptions to this rule, DK Spaceport and Rainbow Road, as they're both segmented one lap tracks, and look at that, they're some of the best tracks in the game because of that. The easiest fix they could have done here is to just give the players an option on whether they want to play a cup with or without intermissions. It's not like this is the only part of the game that features the intermission laps, so you aren't missing out on the experience. Speaking of those other features, the best use of intermissions would have to be Knockout Tour. In this game mode, it's like a normal race except that every lap the finish line is replaced by checkpoints. These checkpoints only allow you to pass if you are above or at a certain position in the race, and with each lap, the criteria for passage gets higher and higher until only first place can pass and win. So basically it's just Mario Kart Battle Royale, which is pretty fun. This nullifies any bagging strategies that are present in the Cups, and it's so much more fun because of that. It's honestly a really cool mode that's on par with a standard Grand Prix. The only complaint I have is that it's still intermission tracks we're playing on. They certainly are a lot more interesting and fun than the ones in the Cups, but there can only be so much you can do to make long stretches of straight lines interesting.
I've talked a lot about the different races you can play in this game, but what about the racers you can play as? Mario Kart World has a pretty average roster. It has all the usuals you expect to see in a Mario Kart game, but there are a few outliers here. We got Pauline, Lakitu, and Wiggler returning, and Monty Mole, Charging Chugs, Hammer Bro, and Nabbit's first console appearances. But those are all old characters. What about the new ones introduced in this game? We got Piranha Plant, Spike, Coin Coffer, Pianta, Swooper, Peepa, Conkdor, Goomba, Cheep Cheep, Fishbone, Cow, Dolphin, Parabitty Bud, So you might have noticed that a lot of these new characters are actually just nameless jobbers. And that's because all these characters are ones you can transform into with the Kamek item. I guess Nintendo just thought to also have them selectable in the character select, which, I mean, is a really good idea. My problem comes in when these are the only new characters in the game and take up more than half the roster. Like seriously, we're adding Fishbone and Sidestepper before Egad, Cappy, any Odyssey NPC. Hell, I would even take Lubba and the Chimp. And that's not even considering all the non-returning racers and the treasure trove of spin-off characters they're just sitting on. Honestly, if they just added a few more notable Mario characters or just named a few of the NPCs, I would be fine with them being here. It just feels like they're only here to fill up the roster to make it look more bloated than it actually is. The only possible reason I can think of for why they held off on adding more notable Mario characters is because they have to have alternate outfits for every racer.
For every actual racer, they have at least one alternate outfit, which you unlock by eating the dash food item during races or while exploring the open world. I really like these outfits. They add a lot of personality to the cast and really shine a spotlight on characters that would normally get overlooked. The only thing I find weird about the outfits is that Donkey Kong and Pauline only got one. While Pauline could be considered a niche character, her appearances in a lot of modern Mario media clearly show Nintendo wants to bring her into the spotlight, so they could have at least had her mare outfit from Odyssey as an alt, or any of her tour outfits. That's not even mentioning how they could have just made original outfits for her. Like, do you know how
how cool she would look in swimwear and pro racing gear and a touring outfit. Yeah.
Now for Donkey Kong, there's no reasonable excuse why he shouldn't have more outfits. He's a major character for the Mario brand, he has his own series, and his new game is quite literally a system seller for the Switch 2. The only possible reason I can think of for the lack of outfits for these two is that there's going to be some sort of Donkey Kong Bonanza update to Mario Kart World that adds outfits from that game here, but it's been radio silent on whether we're even getting any DLC for Mario Kart World, so I wouldn't get my hopes up for that. Then again, it did take 5 years for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to get any DLC, so really anything's possible. Alright, what else does Mario Kart World have to offer? Well, there's Mirror Mode you can unlock by completing all the cups, collecting 10 of each free roam collectible, and completing the special cup again. Bit of an obtuse way of unlocking it, but I'm glad it's here. Mirror Mode is always fun to play. There's also time trials, which, gonna be honest, I never really cared for in the first place, so I got no opinion on that. But I do have some thoughts on the battle mode. It's not that good. There's only Balloon Battle and Coin Runners. All of the battle tracks except for 2 are just repackaged from the cups, and the 2 actual ones we get suck. Renegade Roundup I can kinda get not being here since the Piranha Plant item isn't in the game, and they would have to model like cages and stuff and find places in the open world for that. But then again, they can just find random areas in the open world to use, and modeling a cage is not that hard. Then with Sunshine Thief, there is no excuse for why that shouldn't be in the game. You don't have to create anything new for it except for a shine sprite. It's genuinely baffling how 2 of the best game modes for battle mode just aren't in this game. The online is good. You can play all the main game modes here, and it's one of the only parts of the game where you can race on a normal 3-lap track. Well, at least try to whenever you're given the option. Thankfully, when you're in a friend's lobby, you can manually pick a 3-lap track instead of leaving it up to chance. Oh yeah, I didn't really have an opportunity to bring this up anywhere else, but the music in this game is godly. All of the songs for the main tracks are pretty good, and perfectly capture the feel of the courses they're playing on, but where the music truly shines is in the open world and intermissions. During these parts of the game, one of 226 music tracks could start playing that span across the entire Mario franchise, and I do mean the entire Mario franchise. We have remixes of nearly every song that has been in a Mario Kart game, some of the best from every mainline Mario game, a handful of the handheld games, a few spin-offs, and one from Flipnote Studios. I would say this game is worth it alone just for the soundtrack. The only negative thing I have to say about the music isn't even about the music itself. It's the fact there isn't any sort of jukebox feature where you can listen to all the music and pick what you want to listen to while exploring the open world. When you have a soundtrack this good, you need to have some sort of jukebox feature.
And I believe that's everything Mario Kart World has to offer. Despite my negativity towards the game, it's still pretty good. The parkour mechanics allow for so many cool tricks and shortcuts, and give this Mario Kart game such a breath of fresh air after almost a decade of Mario Kart 8. And the open world gives the world a great sense of cohesiveness, and it's so fun just to dick around the place. While I was pretty negative on it, this is a good roster for a Mario Kart game, and the alternate outfits bring so much life to these characters. Now, would I say this game is worth $80? Hell no! That's why I got the bundle version, so I only had to pay $50 for it. If we, of course, ignored the $400 I spent on the console itself, but that's just semantics. The second big kart racing game to release this year is Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. If I'm to be honest, when this game was announced, I thought it was gonna suck and fail, especially when Mario Kart World was announced a few months later. But when they started doing playtests, everyone was calling it one of the best kart racers ever, and that really got my curiosity piqued. And I just so happened to come across a sale for the game before it even came out, so I purchased it right then and there. So when the game came out a month later, did it live up to the hype? No. It exceeded it!
Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is like your average kart racer. You have items, a colorful cast of characters, and creative, wacky tracks to race on. However, there are 3 things here that make the game stand out from the others. Firstly, we have the customizable vehicle options. Not only can you mix and match parts of a vehicle, but you can also change the color scheme and add decals. Really cool feature that I don't really take advantage of. The most I do is create new extreme gear themed to one of my mains. Massive missed opportunity not making a share option so other people can use the designs you make. It really hampered any excitement I had towards the customization. The second differing factor are the gadgets. These modifications are used to buff or enhance your playstyle. You can make builds that give you more rings, enhance your items, have better drifting skills, or give yourself an advantage at the beginning of a race. This is one of the most accessible and fun systems I've seen in a racing game. Granted, the only racing games I've played are Mario Kart and Garfield Kart, so I'm not really sure if that statement really means much. Regardless, gadgets can bring a lot of variety to a race and really personalize your experience to suit your playstyle. Those two features, while unique, aren't exactly going to sell copies. So that's where the third and actual selling point of the game comes in: the CrossWorlds. At the end of the first lap, 2 ring portals will appear. The player in first place will then decide which portal to take and use as the second lap.
These CrossWorlds always manage to keep tracks fun, interesting, and allow for tracks that couldn't make it as full 3-lap courses to have a chance to shine here. They also have it to where the 4th race in every Grand Prix is a gauntlet featuring all the tracks we've played in that Grand Prix so far. Oh, speaking of those, like Mario Kart, the Grand Prix is where we play all the tracks in the game in the form of cups, or in this game's case, Grand Prix.
The Donpa Grand Prix is very much a beginner's prix, and is here to teach the main racing styles and mechanics of the game. E-Stadium is definitely the best out of the 3 here. It has a lot of fun turns, ramps, and shortcuts. Perfect for teaching the player how to correctly drift. Not to mention how it's just really enjoyable to race on. I also really like the stadium's design here. It has a really neat futuristic aesthetic going on, with the smooth whites, glass tracks, and lights being everywhere. Additionally, I love the part where we go outside the main stadium and get a glance at the cityscape in the background. Gives the track a better sense of being in a lived-in world. The only thing about this track I don't particularly like are the Green Hill holograms littering the skies. They just look out of place here and kinda just clutter up the space. But other than that, it's a really good and fun track. Rainbow Garden is another fun course that teaches you the flying mechanics. But it's also a really basic course. Don't get me wrong, this is a very pretty track, and the gliding and cave sections are really cool and fun to race through, but there isn't a whole lot going on. We're just racing in a flower field. It doesn't even have a cool 3rd lap shortcut. You just drive through a gazebo. Wow, so cool. The final track for this pre is thankfully a lot more creative than that, as it's Water Palace. Here, we race through this gorgeous palace, where we travel down waterfalls, get to view the stunning ocean life, and surf the waves. If you haven't noticed, this is the track that teaches the boating mechanics, and I'm not particularly fond of it. It never brings down a course's quality, but it definitely is the weakest part of any track it's a part of. There are definitely tracks coming up that do more interesting things during their boating segments, but for the most part, it's just a straight line with maybe 1 or 2 turns. But to get back to Water Palace, I would say this is a pretty good track, albeit maybe a tad boring. This is supposed to be a Sonic Rush track, but I don't know, I just don't really feel that anywhere. Just kind of wish they took more elements from the actual Water Palace. With the tutorial tracks out of the way, time to get to the good stuff this game has to offer. Starting with the Wisp Grand Prix. Metal Harbor is such a cool track. There's a few branching paths to take throughout the track. It has a really unique design that I don't think I've ever seen in a racing game before. A shortcut where you cut a corner by jumping over the water. And during the final track, the rocket gets replaced by a sick-ass ramp you can do spins on. Sand Road is one of the best tracks in the game. It does the unthinkable and makes a desert track actually fun and engaging. Here, we race through a temple full of ghosts, drift around an oasis, trick across some dunes while these sandworms try to attack us, and then you have the alternate route on the 3rd lap where we traverse through the oasis. It's genuinely shocking how good this track is and how much I like it. After that, we have Colorful Mall, which, oh my god, is another banger of a track! We race around this massive mall, decorated head to toe with Wisp merchandise, with several different layers to race on. And we really go through this mall. We jump across the gap on the second floor, completely trash the food court, and pass by the mall cinema. Let's keep this good track streak going with the Boom Boo Grand Prix, and this Prix makes history as it makes me like something Sonic Forces related. Mystic Jungle, based on the level of the same name, is another fantastic track. We go through this multi-path temple before getting shot out into twisting water slides where we can launch ourselves across each slide. This is one of the funnest tracks in the game, and I'm still shocked it comes from a Sonic Forces track of all things. Going from one adaptation to another, we have a Potos taken from Sonic Unleashed. While this track isn't one of my favorites, it's still pretty good and a stellar adaptation of Windmill Isle, keeping those claustrophobic halls that make for some chaotic gameplay. The gliding segment could also be a reference to the rail grinding parts, but I might be stretching it there. To top this cup off, we have Wonder Museum, which is a top 5 track in this game. Taking place in the museum, we twist and turn around all the exhibits it has to offer. Then in the third lap, it goes all night at the museum on us. And don't get me started on this absolute banger that is playing in the background. It's such a fun and creative track, and I don't think I could ever get tired of it. While I still like the tracks in the Pumpkin Grand Prix, it's definitely one of the weaker Prix here. Crystal Mine suffers the same problem as Rainbow Garden, where it's really fun to race on, but it has a really boring theme. I don't really know how they could have spiced up the mine here other than making it based on a zone, but the only one I can think of is Molten Mine, which honestly would make a really sick course. Ocean View is honestly not that good of a track. It has a really generic layout that does nothing with the Seaside Hill theming. Sega has literally made a track based on Seaside Hill before that implemented elements of the zone way better, so I don't get why they didn't just port that one over here. The only thing I liked about this course is that the music is a mashup of You Can Do Anything and Supersonic Racing. The final track here, Pumpkin Mansion, is definitely the best out of 3, and one of the most creative courses in the game. It's a haunted mansion where you race on the floor and ceilings before leaving the mansion through its toxic waste pit it has for some reason, into a pumpkin patch where you then have to try to find the correct path to take, as there are ghost pumpkins in the way. And on the third lap, if you manage to stay on top of the toxic waste pit area, a ghost bridge will appear that will guide you straight to the fake pumpkin area. Such a fun track and a great way to salvage this pretty mid-Prix. The Coral Grand Prix is fine. Urban Canyon is so boring. There are some fun parts to race on, but it just kind of sucks the majority of the time. Also, to call this an urban canyon is such a stretch. The only urban parts you can see are way off in the background. Would have liked it if they had a city incorporated into the canyon itself. Market Street is another track taken from Unleash, and it's fine. It does a good job at adapting Rooftop Run, but the actual course design is kind of boring. Like, it just feels like something's missing here, but I can't put my finger on it. The last track for this Prix is Coral Town, and it's one of the most fun and creative tracks in the game. It has multiple paths twisting and turning on one another, and the sheer differences between each path make replaying it really fun. But I do have one small issue with the track. I don't really like the theming. Don't get me wrong, it's beautifully designed and insanely creative at times, but I just don't really like how it looks. Maybe it's because of the sunset lighting or something else, but I just can't help but not like the design that much. For the penultimate Grand Prix, we have the Chow Grand Prix, and it's really good. Minus the first track. For some inexplicable reason, Sega decided to have ice physics on Blizzard Valley, which just makes this course so hard for no reason. That's not even including the wind that pushes you. The only way to get over to ice physics besides driving like you would on ice is to use the gadget specifically made to negate the ice physics, which clearly means Sega knew how unpopular of a decision this was going to be, so why bother even putting ice physics in the fucking level? Radical Highway is based off the level of the same name in Sonic Adventure 2, and is one of the best tracks in the game. Fun turns, banging music, and a really good adaptation of the level it's based on. And you can even drive on the sides of the bridge. Got nothing more to say, it's just a really good course. After that, we got Chow Park, and it's a pretty fun track. I don't really have much to say about this one other than it's enjoyable and a really creative theme. And for the final Grand Prix, we have the Egg Grand Prix, which is an alright finale. The Donpa factory has us race in the factory that makes and tests the karts we race in. It's fun seeing everything being tested and built. The track design here is also pretty good, but that's about it for this course. Like, there isn't anything else that good about it. It's kind of just fine. Aqua Forest is one of the best tracks in the game and has the best utilization of the boating mechanic. Every track before that has had a bonus segment, it always features the normal kind of racing, except maybe it has some water spouts you can jump on to collect items, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, it just doesn't give the bonus segment a real good reason for being here other than it's cool. Here, however, you can perform a jump to access alternate routes and shortcuts. This is something that can only be done with the boating mechanic, and I wish more tracks utilized features like this. It helps make the boating segments actually feel important and necessary for the track. For the last and final track of the game, we have Eggman Expo, and it's fine. The layout is alright, and the concept of a track that showcases all of Eggman's creations is pretty cool. But I feel like they just don't go far enough with the concept. Being able to race in a chemical plant tube is fine, but why not have a part where we fly up and race on one of Eggman's many airships, race through a recreation of the Death Egg, and, okay, I can't think of any other cool set pieces, but you get what I'm trying to say here. It's just a lame track to end the pre on, and could have been a lot cooler. Good thing this isn't the last pre then. As it turns out, after you win every pre available, a secret Grand Prix will become available to race on. Now, the cool thing about this pre is that every track is based on a game released in this new era of Sonic. We have a track based on Frontiers, Superstars, and Shadow Generations. I don't care what anyone says, but this is the coolest thing the game has done. This cup represents the current era of Sonic and the sheer pride and confidence Sonic Team has for these games. It's also shown by how these tracks are the 3 best tracks in the game. Kronos Island is hype moments in order of the track, and I mean that in the best way possible. There's a part where we race on a segment of track made by Squid, and the final lap music is a remix of I'm Here, and oh my God, it gets your blood pumping! North Star Islands is next, and it is the most fun track to race on. It's honestly a very simple track design, but by God does it radiate a level of whimsy and joy that the other tracks just don't. Even though this track does look a tad ugly at the beginning, I could never get tired of this track. To top off this lovely tribute of a pre, we have White Space, another phenomenal course. For the first lap, we take a tour of a nearly unmodified version of Shadow's White Space from Shadow Generations. Like, it almost feels like they had this game in mind when designing White Space in Shadow Generations. Then for the third lap, the layout completely changes as it turns into Doom Zone. We race on a section of Radical Highway, the water section is replaced by a flying segment, and we finish the lap off by going from Chaos Island to the Space Colony arc. It's also good and so fun to actually race on. Truly a worthy final track and just an overall fantastic pre to end the game on.
We aren't done with the tracks in this game just yet, as we still need to talk about the CrossWorld tracks. And I won't spend too much time on them, since I don't have much to say about a majority of them.
Sky Road returns from Team Sonic Racing as a more condensed version of that track. Having not played Team Sonic Racing, I can't exactly say which one is the superior version, but what I can say is that it is really fun to race on. Roulette Road returns for the 4th game in a row, and despite being the weakest version of it, it's still very clear why Sega keeps bringing this track back. It's a blast to race on and looks gorgeous. Genuinely wish we had gotten a full version of this track instead of a CrossWorld version. Kraken Bay is one of the best CrossWorlds in the game. The aesthetics and visuals are stellar. It features a plethora of fun set pieces to race through. Golden Temple is fine. It looks good and is fun to race on, but the track design is a tad underwhelming. Magma Planet is a cute reference to Galaxy Force 2, but other than that, it's a fine track. Hidden World sucks, just like the game it comes from. It's practically a straight line where you have to drift twice. Steampunk City is a really creative track and has one of my favorite aesthetics in the entire game. It really makes me wish that there was a steampunk-themed Sonic level. Dragon Road is the best out of the Unleashed tracks in the game. It's a fun track where you're constantly avoiding obstacles created by the Dark Gaia Phoenix, who is the main boss of Dragon Road. Hello Ska is yet another Unleashed track, and it isn't as good as Dragon Road, but still manages to be a somewhat fun track. Galactic Parade is fine. The part with the light bridge is pretty cool, but other than that, it's a pretty mid-course. Dinosaur Jungle is cool as hell. We start on a waterfall, have tons of dinos, and then end the course by driving on a dinosaur. It's like you put awesome sauce on an epic plate of bodaciousness. Sweet Mountain sucks ass. White Cave is the only Sonic Riders track to make a return in this game, and while it is cool to have more Riders representation, it just doesn't feel like White Cave. It's missing way too much from the original track to call this good. At least the music is still banging. Cyberspace is one of the best CrossWorlds in the game, and one of the best tracks in the game in general. Picking the Eternal Highway theme was an obvious no-brainer, and makes this course look so cool with all the highways surrounding us while racing. The actual track itself is one of the most fun and exciting in the game, and the music for this course is a remix of Flowing with a saxophone solo. Oh! And Digital Circuit is fine.
All in all, this is a pretty good selection of tracks, with maybe one or two that I would call legitimately bad. I just wish we got more cartoony ones, like with North Star Islands, but I'm fine with what we got. Now that we're finally done with the main racing mode, time to get to the actual racers you can play as. We have all the main teams from Sonic Heroes here, plus Silver and Blaze, who don't have a team, but everyone's happy to see them here. We also have Eggman, Metal Sonic, Eggpon, and Sage here to represent the Eggman Empire. Really cool to see Sage here. She was one of the standout characters from Frontiers, and one of the more memorable characters from the last 10 years. Which can't be said about the two Deadly Six members we have here. Why does Sega keep trying to make the Deadly Six a thing? They're never going to be a thing, and I will be dead when they are a thing. At the very least, Sega decided to bring back the Babylon Rogues, who haven't really been anything since Free Riders. Honestly, it makes sense for them to be here, because not only is this a racing game, but Extreme Gear is also available here, which was introduced in Sonic Riders. While not a part of the main roster, the Werehog is also here as a pre-order bonus. I enjoy the Werehog a lot, but why make him a pre-order bonus? It basically makes him unattainable now. I hope they release him as like some sort of free DLC or just something in the future, because it's really scummy to just lock him behind that. That also goes for the Sonic Prime characters, who are only available if you purchase the digital deluxe version of the game. Moving away from those bonus characters, there's actually one unlockable character you can get in this game by defeating all the rivals. Real quick, rivals are characters that challenge you throughout the Grand Prix. Once you beat all the rivals, you can play as Super Sonic, and he is the most broken character in the game. He has the highest stats in the game, and cannot be harmed by any item. This makes for a really fun character, but because of how broken he is, you can't play as Super Sonic online. It makes sense, but man, it would be really funny if you could.
There is one more thing regarding the roster that makes this game really stand out. During the start of a Grand Prix, your racer and rival will have unique banter with one another. This banter is so cool to have, and really brings out the character for a lot of the roster. The characterization quality for each does vary, but it makes Savik an actually interesting character, so maybe the Deadly Six isn't all bad.
That's it for the major stuff in this game, but I want to get to a few other features the game has to offer before getting to that.
Like with Mario Kart, we got Mirror Mode here, and it's about what you expect out of a Mirror Mode. As a side mode to the Grand Prix, we also have the Race Park. Here you can play 6 themed races on any track. Triple Team Ring Grab, Triple Team Tap Boost, Double Team Shootout, Double Team Dash Panel, Quick Match, Extreme Match. A lot of these gimmicks are actually pretty fun. Unfortunately, the fun goes away when you realize that none of these races can be played online. I don't get the point in locking these to couch co-op only, especially when half the gimmicks require you to have a team, which would be a lot more fun with an actual human being and not AI racers. At the very least, by defeating AI racers, you gain car parts, which is neat. Oh yeah, there's an online mode here too. It's about what you expect from an online mode. There's also time trials here, which I actually enjoy a lot. That's mainly because you're given an actual goal to achieve in them, and get rewarded with legacy music every 3 and later on 6 A ranks you get. Who knew that giving the player good rewards would entice them to actually want to play this mode? I am a tad disappointed there weren't any Sonic R tracks to unlock. Like, come on Sega, that was such an easy win right there.
Last thing to talk about are some of the extras the game has to offer. You can clear challenges to unlock Dopon tickets and titles to use online. The challenges are the exact same as the achievements in the game, so these basically just act as rewards for those. Oh yeah, I haven't really mentioned Dopon tickets till now. They're given out during races, and they mainly serve as the in-game currency for car parts and friendship. Friendships are your way of showing how much you love a specific Sonic character, as you can get titles, decals, and even AI racer skins of your favorite Sonic character. These ticket prices can get really pricey, so make sure you pick a Sonic character you really like before dumping a ton of tickets into them. So, should probably get to her. Where did she?
Unlike Mario Kart, this game has a lot of DLC. In fact, they were promoting the DLC before the game even came out, and I honestly can't even blame Sega for this, because for the DLC, they go all in with the CrossWorld gimmick, as pretty much every DLC character is a crossover character. We got Joker, Ichiban, Hatsune Miku, Knights, Ai, Pac-Man, Inky, Blinky, Pinky, Clyde, Mega Man, Proto Man, Steve, Alex, a Creeper, SpongeBob, Patrick, the TMNT, Aang. This is genuinely one of the most insane lineups for DLC I've ever seen. Like, what do you mean Hatsune Miku, SpongeBob, a Creeper from Minecraft, and Joker Persona 5 are all in one game? The DLC isn't all just crossovers, as there are 2 Sonic characters a part of it. Now, they aren't just like classic Sonic or something lame like that. No, it's Tangle and Whisper. Oh my god! I can't believe they're actually here. I can't believe they actually made it to a console Sonic game. And they look so good here! Like, if the DLC was just these 2, I would be happy. And the best part about these 2 is that they're free! Every in-house racer in the game are given out as free DLC. And Hatsune Miku, who is honestly an honorary Sega character at this point. Only the third-party characters are locked behind paid DLC. Which does mean the paid and free characters are treated a bit differently in terms of what they come with. Free characters come with the racer, a themed vehicle, music, and a limited time festival where you can get name cards and card decals. These festivals also have you play on the race park rule sets, which is cool seeing them being used online somewhere. The paid characters get all of that plus a track. These tracks are honestly some of the best in the game, and do a great job at representing the series the characters come from. Minecraft World showcases nearly every structure and biome Minecraft has to offer. Bikini Bottom has us visiting many famous landmarks from the show, and Pac-Man Village and Maze has us racing through the hub world of Pac-Man World 2, and the maze from the arcade game. It even has an 8-bit Pac-Man for us to follow, which is really cool.
I know they have to make some difference between the free and paid characters, other than, ooh, look, that guy's from a different company! But man, I would have loved if we gotten tracks for the free characters. For Joker, you could have it be mementos or one of the palaces from the game, like Sei's or Shido's. Ichiban, you could have it be a tour of Ichisaki Ichinjo, or Hawaii if they still want to promote infinite wealth. I haven't actually played any of the Knights games, so I don't really know what would be a good track for them, so just port over the one from Transformed. II is the easiest character to do a course for. All you have to do is just use one of the stages from Monkey Ball, or just port over the track from Transformed. Tingle and Whisper are a bit hard to think of a track for since they originate from the comics, but you could do Spiral Hill Village since that's where they live, or the Resistance base since, you know, they're part of the Resistance. But if Sega just wants to do a general course based off the comics, they could just do Scrapnik Island. Hatsune Miku is definitely the hardest character to think of tracks for, but I got a few ideas for one. First idea I had was a concert. Basically, you would drive around and through a Miku concert. You could even have Miku or one of the Krypton Vocaloids performing on stage. The second idea I have is to use the Sekai from Project Sekai. Project Sekai is the most recent and most profitable Miku game Sega has made, so it would make sense for them to want to advertise it here. The real question is, what Sekai would they pick? School Sekai is way too small for a track, and doesn't have anything that visually interesting, except for maybe the night sky. I can definitely see a world where this works, but you would have to take a lot of creative liberties to make this interesting. Stage Sekai is just the same idea I had for the concert, and I think if they were to choose either one, they would have done an actual Miku concert stage, and not one based off the Stage Sekai. Street Sekai I can actually see working, but I think it would be way too visually similar to Market Street. Empty Sekai is way too empty and desolate to really do anything cool with, which, I mean, it's kind of the point of Sekai, but not really that good for a racetrack. That just leaves us with the Wonderland Sekai, and that's actually the only one I can see working. It's a vast open amusement park with several cool set pieces that can make for an awesome track, and it's different enough from Chow Park to have it stand out on its own. It definitely helps that Wonderland's Showtime is also one of the more popular groups in the game. While I think the ideas here work really well, I think the set guides would just work better as CrossWorlds stages instead of full-blown 3-lap tracks. My third and personal favorite idea is the virtual world. This would be a Rainbow Road style track with visuals inspired from Madrigal and Electric Angel, and the background would be filled with references to other like Miku music videos, album art, and just other Vocaloid memorabilia. This idea best encapsulates and represents what Vocaloid and Miku is all about. Damn, now I'm sad this doesn't exist. Wait, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the actual DLC for the game.
With all this being said, is the paid DLC actually worth it? It really just depends on if you're a fan of any of these franchises here, which is pretty likely for a lot of them, but the free DLC honestly gets me more excited because I actually like Sega's properties, and it's so cool seeing comic characters in the console game. I just think having a season pass consisting of 3 Nickelodeon properties is a bit much. I would have preferred more gaming crossover stuff, like with Minecraft, Pac-Man, and Mega Man. Regardless, this DLC only enhances your experience with the game, so there aren't many negatives I can really say about it.
Anyways, that should be everything the game has to offer. And man, is this a solid game! The gadgets allow for so much variety in playstyle, learning the stages is actually really fun, the cast is nearly perfect, and the CrossWorlds gimmick is still one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a racing game. And the DLC is pretty good too, if you just ignore the no voice acting. It's seriously one of the most polished and well put together racing games I've ever played, and I heavily recommend it if you have even a passing interest in racing games. Now we have arrived at the last game, Kirby Air Riders. This is a game I never thought would ever come out, especially with Sakurai directing it. So to say I was excited for this game would be an understatement. And did it live up to my expectations? Yeah!
Kirby Air Riders isn't exactly a traditional kart racer. This can be most clearly seen in how the game plays. You auto-accelerate, there's not really a drift button, and there are no item boxes in the game. Okay, so it plays a bit more like a traditional racing game. Well, no. You can still harm other racers by beating them up with your fists when wiggling the stick left and right while near them. You might presume this means there aren't any items to use then, but that's where you'd be wrong. In place of item boxes, you can inhale bystander drivers and take their abilities for a limited time. This is one of the most creative ways I've seen a racing game incorporate items, and a method that perfectly fits with the Kirby series. The abilities also aren't just copies of shells, bananas, and blue shells like in every other kart racer. They function the same way they do in the mainline games. Cutter, you throw a blade that returns back to you. Drill, you drill under the ground, avoiding other racers and obstacles. Mike, you scream, causing everyone around you to get hurt. Sleep, you fall asleep. Every copy ability is perfectly replicated to a T, and really makes this game feel like a Kirby kart racer instead of a kart racer featuring Kirby.
Since we got the meat of the game down, it's time to get to the actual main racing mode, Air Ride, and there are no cups in this game. It's actually quite bare bones with only 18 tracks, half of what CrossWorlds and World has to offer. You would think this would cause issues with the replayability of the game, but no, this is actually one of my favorite racing modes out of all the games I've talked about. And that all comes down to just how customizable these rule sets are.
You can have it to where you swap vehicles every lap, change out the lap format for a timer one where the player with the highest score at the end wins, have up to 99 laps to play on a single race, allow for racers to die if they take too much damage during a race, and make it to where bystanders that grant copy abilities no longer spawn, so you have to rely completely on your racing skill. Each of these rule sets can completely change up how you play the game, and always keep things interesting for the player. It's just so fun with how much freedom you're given here to create a rule set that's just right for you. And then the actual tracks themselves are some of the best I've ever played in any kart racer. Floor Fields is a grassy field blooming with flowers, housing a tree stump with a mystic spring inside. It's the most tame course in the game with a pretty standard layout and no crazy set pieces. But man is it pretty. The pedals constantly flying across the screen, the glistening water in the cave, and the general scenery just makes this track a beauty to gawk at. It makes for a great introductory course and eases you into the game. Kinda like a calm before the storm. Wave Flow Waters is a journey across the coast of a beach, and it's actually one of the most insane tracks in this game. The race starts with the ocean parting ways for us like Moses. Then we stumble across to this now uncovered reef, where we get hurled through the waters until we land on a cyclone that takes us to a nearby dock with a cannon that launches us to a whirlpool that we then skate the edges of before landing on a shipwreck that we just zip right on by as we ride the waves and streams until making it back to the beach we started on. Do you see how crazy this sounds, and how insane this is to race on, and how damn fun it is? We're always twisting and turning at every moment. The submarine in the shipwreck section has an hidden item panel you can use. The wave has water loops you can jump through for extra speed. And the beach section has water spouts with dash panels on them. That's all the stuff gameplay-wise that makes this track so much fun, but there's also tiny details littered all over the place that make me love this track even more. You can actually go into the water walls on the Moses sections. You can see fish swimming in the cyclone as you race on it. The waves and spouts in the background of the docks are going crazy, and my goat Kine is here. Oh my god, I haven't even mentioned the music. You would think it would just be a typical beach theme with steel drums, marimbas, and some brass instruments sprinkled in there. But no, the song that plays on this track is a pop rock number with a large focus on the electric guitar, and wow, does this track get the blood pumping. But if you did want to hear a more traditional sounding beach song for the track, you're in luck, as you're able to unlock an alternate song for this course that's a remix of Flot Islands from Kirby's Dream Land. And oh, it sounds so good! This is for sure one of my favorite tracks in the whole game, as you can clearly tell by how much I've talked about it. But don't take that as me disliking the other courses here. I have something to admire about each of them. This one I just have the most to talk about. Airtopia ruins are the floating remains of a long-lost ancient civilization. It's so cool racing around the ruins here, especially on the water and island section. And this goes without saying, but Christ, this track is so pretty! All the ruins look absolutely breathtaking, and is that my Goku? Crystalline Fissure is a crystallized mountain with a molten core. Another mesmerizing track that makes full use of its crystal theming, especially with the ending where you fly through a geode. And we can't forget to bring up the lava cave with the crystal spewing dragon. That's sick as hell! The area also just looks stunning in general. Definitely one of the best out of the new courses introduced here. Steamgust Forge is an industrial steampunk-inspired factory filled to the brim with conveyor belts, gears, pipes, lava, and a big old steam-powered core. This is the first time in a factory track where it actually feels like we're traversing through a factory instead of a factory-themed racetrack. And it's one of the most visually interesting and creative courses because of that. Then the part where the course shoots you up in the air with a ton of airships flying around is so cool. And the air vortexes below the crafts that can act as boosts for you if you fell down is such a creative way to do speed boosts here. You know, it's kind of funny how 2 of the 3 games here have a steampunk-inspired track. Like, what are the chances of that? And how come Mario has never done anything steampunk-related? That would go hard. Cavernous Corners is a mine deep in the jungle, filled with minerals, ruins, and jewels. While I would say this is one of the weaker tracks in the game, it's still a really fun romp to race through. Each section of the cave is wonderfully detailed and really makes you feel like you're going on some sort of expedition and unearthing long-forgotten secrets. And the music just adds to that kind of dungeon-esque vibe. Cyberon Highway has you explore the digital worlds with the hazards and obstacles that come with them. This is definitely one of the more tame tracks design-wise, but man, I love how this game interprets the virtual world. It feels like something out of the early 2000s with the random geometry floating around in the background, the outrun synthwave aesthetic they have going on, and this banging techno song they got. The actual track itself does have some pretty fun gimmicks too, with the 2 paths that either make you really big or really small, the glitchy bridge that will have sections fade from existence, lasers, and the boost hills. It's not that extravagant or anything, but it makes this track pretty fun to play. Mount Amber Falls has you journey from the top of an autumn mountain peak all the way down to its base shoreline. This track is very close to being one of my favorites in the game because, God, this is a journey! We start at the snowy peak before traversing onto a bridge to the autumn forest filled with leaves, trees, lakes, chasms, tunnels, and waterfalls. After crossing over a massive waterfall, we enter a short path to the shoreline where it's a scramble to the finish. It's such a fun trek down and filled with a lot of details that make this mountain feel more alive. The campsite at the beginning, the shacks we stumble across throughout the race, just all the man-made structures we race on, and my goat Grizzo hunting for food. And this goes without saying, but oh my god, this track is so pretty. It's like you condense the feelings and vibes of autumn into one breathtaking track. And the music, oh my god, this might be one of, if not my favorite music track, which is saying a lot for a Kirby game. Those are all the new tracks introduced in this game, but we also have every track from the original era right here too, and yeah, they're pretty neat. Don't get me wrong, these tracks are good, but they are really lacking when you compare them to the new tracks. Again, this isn't me saying that the old tracks suck, they're all great and I prefer them being here than not, except maybe Nebula Belt, that one actually does suck. The only ones that managed to keep up with the new blood are Beanstalk Park and Checkered Knights. I really like the leveling done with Beanstalk Park. It makes the course feel fresh every time you race on it, and the Vine Ferris wheel is so fun. Checkered Knights is the best track out of the old guard and is able to stand toe-to-toe with some of the best introduced here. The idea of playing on a checkered castle floating above a lake with an entire metropolitan city hidden underneath is so cool and creative. And actually playing on the track is so fun and chaotic, helped massively by one of the most iconic pieces of Kirby music playing in the background. It just has this bombastic and loud energy to it that perfectly fits this course.
By now, you should know that these tracks are useless without any racers on them. And this game has one of the best selection of racers I've seen in a game. We of course have the main quartet you expect to see in a modern Kirby game, allies of the past, a few secondary antagonists, some final bosses, and a handful of jobbers. Hold it!
Did you say common enemies? Wasn't that one of the big complaints you had about the Mario Kart World roster? So why all of a sudden is it good here? Well, the reason for that boils down to a few things. First, people actually like and care about these jobbers. There are far more fans of Cappy, Rocky, Scarfy, and Starman out there than there are of Conkdor, Fishbone, Sidestepper, and Swoop. Helps that Kirby characters just have more creative designs than Mario. Second, they don't take up more than half the roster. There are only 7 riders here I would consider as jobbers, which leaves us with 14 non-jobber racers, which is a much better ratio than the 27 to 23 Mario Kart World has. And lastly, they're treated equally to the other racers. They aren't just filler slots to make the roster look bigger. These guys are fully thought out and realized racers, with alternate colors, unique gameplay styles, and special moves unique to them. Oh yeah, this game has signature abilities. Much like a fighting game, the racer has a meter they can fill up to perform their ultimate move. This move tends to either be attack-based, speed-based, or a combination of the two. They're also used for some cool fan service, like Mark's transforming into his true form, DDD using his jet hammer, Gooey turning into his mock dark matter form, Lololo and Lalala tossing the emerald blocks they used in their fight, and Susie summoning her boosters from her business suit. This is a feature Sakurai did not have to add, but man am I glad he did, because this makes races feel even more chaotic and exciting than they were before. Actually, while we're still on the topic of the racers, I do want to mention one very minor problem I have with them. While we do have the majority of important characters from across the Kirby franchise, I do feel like some critical characters are missing. We got no Adeline, Ribbon, Mage Sisters, Elfin, or hell, even Prince Fluff. Don't get me wrong, I still believe this is one of the best rosters the game could have had. I'm just a tad disappointed we won't be getting these guys in any DLC or free updates. Now before moving on to the other modes, I do actually want to discuss the vehicles in this game. Like in Mario Kart and Sonic Racing, air ride machines are categorized into different typings. We got the star types, which float above ground and have the ability to glide, bike types, which are grounded and affected by the environment, chariot types, which are also grounded but maintain their speed when making turns, and tank types, which continue to move forward as you boost. Unlike in Mario Kart or Sonic Racing, where the most you need to do is look at the stats of each vehicle, here each air ride machine has a special gimmick to them that makes them stand out from the others. Bulk Star, you need to boost to refill the machine to keep it going. Swerve Star can only make turns while charging a boost. Wheelie Scooter has the best handling in the game to where you don't even need to do boost for turns. Hopstar, you'll never guess what this one does. Battle Chariot has terrible handling, but is one of the best machines offensively. Transform Star can swap between star and bike typings. I could go on and on about these machines, but I think you get the point on how special and unique each one of them are, and why, when a race starts, these are the focus of the racer lineups.
Okay, that's enough waffling about. It's time to get to the real reason why you bought Kirby Air Riders. The reason why it's going to stand the test of time and be the best game on the Switch 2, maybe even in all of gaming. That's right, I'm talking about Top Ride, baby! Woo!
Okay, to be genuine, this is actually a fun game mode, just not one I would go out of my way to play. It's short top-down races and stages themed around the ones in the regular air ride mode. Each stage is pretty well designed and has plenty of hazards and gimmicks to avoid. They could have easily cut this mode and no one really would have complained, but Sakurai ended up bringing it back for this game and I'm really glad he did. It's just a short and sweet game mode to pick up and play when you don't got much time to play anything else. Alright, time to actually discuss City Trial. This is the standout mode from Kirby Air Ride, making its long-awaited return here with a whole new map, events, and more. The main idea of City Trial is that for 5 minutes, you and 15 other people are let loose on this island, Skya. In that time, you have to find an air ride machine and create any type of build you can with it. After time is up, everyone will then compete in one of 4 stadium games and try to win it with their build. To add to the uniqueness of the concept, there's also random events that occur that add even more chaos to the mode. Avoid asteroids, defeat a boss, a random effect is applied to everyone, participate in a small game, unlock a treasure chest, just to name a few. But the random event that can truly change the game are the legendary machine spawns. During the trial, there's a small chance of a legendary machine part spawning in Skya. Collecting all 3 parts will grant you access to one of 2 legendary machines. If you collected Dragoon parts, you unlock the Dragoon, the ultimate star-type machine, as it has insane gliding potential, being nearly free roam at times. If you had instead collected Hydra parts, you gain access to the Hydra, the most powerful star-type machine, with high speeds and insane combat power. These machines give you an insane advantage against your opponents, are insanely fun to actually play with, and give you a free win in any stadium game. While on the subject, might as well talk about the types of stadium games there are. We got Kirby Melee, Air Glider, High Jump, Drag Race, Target Flight, Dust Up Derby, Skydive, Gourmet Race, Big Battle, Single Race, Oval Circuit, Rail Panic, Beam Gauntlet, and Button Rush. A massive amount of minigames here, and such great variety between them all. There's not even a single stadium game I would call bad here. All of them are insanely fun and enjoyable to play. My personal favorites would have to be Rail Panic, Target Flight, and Skydive. Rail Panic, if you don't just fly over the rails, is an insanely fun reaction time game. And for Target Flight and Skydive, I'm just a sucker for games where you go through hoops for points. And darts is just a fun game in general.
I can definitely see why City Trial was one of the reasons the original Air Rider was so beloved. It has a really fun game flow to it that never gets repetitive, is really rewarding to play, and is just a blast to experience every time. Honestly, it's one of the best modes in Kirby Air Riders, but it isn't the best. That would go to the next and final game mode, Road Trip.
Road Trip is basically a roguelike mode. You start with the basic Warp Star and stats that are actually worse than normal. Throughout a run, you can pick up items and new vehicles on the road or in a shop, and do challenges to increase your stats. Most of these challenges are actually activities from the other modes, like stadium games, City Trial hazards, air ride races, and top ride games. You can also pick up allies along the road, which will change the path you take during your journey. This makes for a really fun gameplay loop and a fantastic roguelike experience. It takes the already fun aspects from the other modes and expands on them to make them even better. Inherently, it is very similar to how City Trial plays, with you having to start from nothing, going on to then create a powerful vehicle. But the main difference is that you can plan a lot more here. In City Trial, you're scrambling to get any stats really, and start building something based on the random things you find in crates or out in the wild. But in Road Trip, you can really think about the build you want to make for your run. Since each road bump in an area gives you 3 choices of stats to increase, you can really think about what you want to prioritize in a specific run. even more so when we start considering what shops have to offer. My favorite part of Road Trip though would have to be the bosses. And I'm not talking about the harder rival bosses, but the real ones, the actual bosses you encounter on the road trip. Robo DDD is a transformer version of DDD, which is sick as hell, and that's all this guy has going for him. This fight's actually piss easy. The design and concept for this boss really carry a lot here. Nightmare makes his grand return as a boss after 14 years, and wow, this 3D design rocks. It really brings out more of the demonic traits of Nightmare, like his teeth and skeletal hands. I also love the detail of Nightmare's amulet now being cracked into a crescent moon, as a result of Nightmare's last fight with Kirby. This is actually a detail that was first introduced with Parallel Nightmare from Super Kirby Clash, except his is flipped the other way because he's a parallel version of Nightmare. But that's enough gushing about his design. Let's get to the fight, because this is a fantastic one. All of Nightmare's attacks have been perfectly adapted into a 3D space. He has his Star Ring projectiles, Twister Dash, and even the Spear of Annihilation from Mass Attack. It's not just old moves Nightmare has, he came here with 2 brand new attacks. First, we got a move where Nightmare creates a clone of himself to attack alongside him, and the second has him fire a vortex which blinds you in darkness with a Nightmare silhouette watching over you. All these moves come together to make a really fun boss fight, and a real glow up for the first demonic threat Kirby ever faced. Marx also makes his return here as a boss, the greedy bastard. While this is the 5th time Marx has been a boss, this is the first time it's been in a 3D arena. And just like Nightmare, all of his attacks have been tweaked to fit a 3D space. Shooter Cutter fires 6 boomerangs now, Seed Attack has all seeds land at once and now spread more onto the ground, Ice Ball gets thrown in an upward arch, and Arrow, Mark's Cannon, and Black Hole actually just stay the same. Black Hole does get a cool animation if he gets sucked in now though, which is pretty cool. These updates definitely do wonders to make this a better fight in a 3D space. I just kind of wish we got some of Marx's other moves like Shadow Uppercut, Capillary Expansion, Compound Eye Laser, or any of Marx Soul's exclusive attacks. I get why they didn't include each of them, but like, come on, it would have been so cool. The most unexpected boss in this game would have to be Zero 2, making its 2nd physical appearance ever. Except this isn't actually Zero 2. This is a digital recreation of Zero 2 that's corrupting the digital superhighway. This can be seen by the fact their design is almost entirely composed of polygons, and they share no attacks with its previous iterations. It's more or less trying to recreate the on-rails shooter kind of gameplay it had in its Kirby 64 fight. And is, funnily enough, the only boss in the game to really make use of the fact this is a racing game. The fight itself is fun, but I'm so fascinated by the fact a digital recreation of Zero 2 is just here in the digital world. Like, I want to learn more about why this virus is here and who made it. The next boss I want to talk about is actually pretty unique, as it isn't as massive as these past few bosses, or really a boss at all. They're more of a rival. Noir DDD is a boss that you face multiple times throughout your road trip. They can challenge you to a 1v1 in any of the challenges available in the game, and upon defeating them, you get a memory fragment. But what do these memory fragments do? Well, they unlock cutscenes for the story here. That's right, this isn't just a roguelike mode, but also a story mode, and one of the best a racing game has had. The main story, told at the start of Road Trip, is that one day, mysterious air ride machines crash-landed on planet Popstar. Inhabitants of the planet who discovered these machines would share their wills with them to activate the vehicles and become riders. The residents of planet Popstar would then start hosting races, games, and more with them, making them a staple of life on the planet. However, some riders noticed their vehicles had a yearning to travel somewhere far away. So wanting to know what their machines sought to find, many riders would take a road trip into distant lands to discover what their vehicle were yearning to find. For a racing game, that's honestly a really good premise for a story, and a pretty good excuse for a road trip existing. But the real meat of the story comes in with the memory fragments you collect, where we learn the story of Zora, the living machine. Long ago, Zora crash-landed onto planet Popstar. Isolated and unable to move, Zora would spend millennia alone, wishing to be free and roam wherever it pleased. This wish would one day reach the Fountain of Dreams, which sent its wish out into the stars, all the way to Nova, the galactic comet.
Being the Wishmaker, Nova starts to manufacture living machines that can roam freely, and sends them down to planet Popstar. Nova then sends down worker drones and materials to truly make Zora's wish come true. These worker drones would swarm Zora, tearing them apart piece by piece to rebuild them into the mechanical beast, Gigantus. A machine capable of eradicating all life on planet Popstar. But Gigantus couldn't move on its own. Just like the air ride machines, Gigantus needed willpower to move, and a lot of it. So Nova sent out a transmission to every air ride machine to return to their true origin. Only riders of strong wills sensed command, and to figure out what it's about, began their road trip to the true point of origin, unknowingly contributing to the extinction of all life on planet Popstar. But let's go back in time to the construction of Gigantus. When the worker drones were ripping the core out of Zora's body, a fragment of Zora's will managed to break free and escape, taking the form of DDD as it finally realized her one and only wish. However, Noir DDD couldn't celebrate this liberation yet, as they had to make sure none of the air ride machines reached Gigantus. And the only way to do so would be to destroy every last one. This then brings us to our very own journey, where despite Noir DDD's best efforts, they were unable to stop us from reaching our journey's end, where Gigantus managed to absorb the will of our air ride machine and activate itself. This then brings us to the Gigantus boss fight, and my god, this is a boss fight! Gigantus is bigger than anyone or anything we've faced before on this journey, and is way more powerful. To defeat this dreadnought, you need to destroy all its weak points, after which its core will be vulnerable. It's really fun to destroy these weak points, and it's actually really satisfying to do so. It just feels good to dismantle a giant. Once Gigantus is destroyed, Noir DDD sees this as their last opportunity to not only reunite with the rest of their soul, but to also take revenge on Galactic Nova. Unfortunately, our racer doesn't know about Noir DDD's motives, so we end up beating them to Gigantus and finish them off, destroying it once and for all. But since Zora's will was still inside Gigantus when it was destroyed, Noir DDD is also killed, never being able to get justice for what Nova did to them, and allowing Nova to flee to the stars. Christ, that's depressing! Good thing that's not the end. As it turns out, that was the standard ending to the game. To get the true ending, you need to start a new Game Plus run and collect all the air ride machines you missed in the first run. This will cause a new cutscene to happen, where Gigantus snipes your air ride machine and takes every one you've collected on your journey and absorbs them into itself. Having more than enough willpower, Gigantus transforms into Hyper Gigantus and starts its own journey of mass destruction. Having no means to stop Gigantus, our rider is powerless to do anything, but then the Goat Noir DDD summons the legendary machine Dragoon and Hydra for not only us to fight, but for them to fight alongside us, and we beat the ever-loving shit out of Gigantus! Once Gigantus is defeated, Noir DDD wastes no time and fuses the two legendary machines together and rams right into the core of Gigantus, causing a massive energy beam to shoot directly at Nova. This act was so powerful, it summoned Leo, the Lion of Justice. With this seed, our rider rides on the light beam to show Nova their place in this world. Nova, realizing they're about to get their shit rocked, summons all the bosses we face in Road Trip so far, but we just go right through them, until finally reaching Nova's core. This fight actually starts off nearly identical to the one in Superstar, but after destroying the pillars, the heart of Nova actually starts to fight back against us, and we have to dodge all these lasers it throws at us. And it's so cool and actually, way better than the original fight. After dealing the final blow, the nucleus cracks in two, causing Gigantic Nova to explode again for the second time, finally avenging Zora. Back on planet Popstar in the wreckage of Gigantus, Zora's fragmented will finally reunites with the rest of its will. And since it still has connection to the air ride machines Gigantus absorbed, Zora used that willpower to rebuild itself, and finally leave planet Popstar. Our rider watches this, and knowing that their job is done, rides off into the horizon with Leo.
What a fantastic story mode. On top of having the already great gameplay of Road Trip, the story here was phenomenal. Slowly learning that Noir DDD is actually a good guy and we were unknowingly contributing to the destruction of Planet Popstar was a superb twist. And Zora's whole story is just so tragic. Bro just wanted to be able to walk freely around the world, and Nova said, yeah, so I'm gonna rip you apart and turn you into a tank to cause mass extinction on Planet Popstar. Some might see this as out of character for Nova, but no, Nova is just kind of an asshole. When Marx wished to rule over Planet Popstar, Nova just decided to crash into the planet, so he isn't that altruistic of a wish granter. The only real complaint I can think of about the story is, who the hell is Leo? This guy comes out of nowhere and acts as your vehicle for the boss rush.
I've seen theories that they're supposed to be the fragment of Zora's will that became Noir DDD, but that doesn't really work because in the final cutscene, we see those two wills reunite and Leo is still here. I've also seen people say it's supposed to be the Air Rider machine's will that got absorbed into Gigantus, but again, that doesn't work because in the final cutscene, we see all those machines with their wills still intact and Leo still there. Probably the most insane theory I found out of all of them was that Leo is supposed to be Sakurai.
Sakurai was born on August 3rd, which would make him a Leo, which is commonly represented by a lion. In addition to that, all of the bosses we fight in the boss rush are from Kirby games Sakurai was the director for. Robo DD is supposed to represent DD from Dreamland, Nightmares from Adventure, Marks and Nova are from Superstar, and Zero Two is from Crystal Shards. So this game is supposed to be a send-off to Sakurai's era of Kirby, and a passing of the torch to the new director of the franchise. About 20 years too late, but hey, don't look at that.
Regardless of what the truth may be, it's so weird that Leo just shows up without any build-up or explanation, and is a real oddity on this fantastic story mode.
After getting the true ending for the story, you get a handful of unlocks. First and most important is Noir DDD becoming a playable character, which is pretty sick. We also unlock not only Leo, but Gigantus as legendary machines in City Trial. Leo is pretty much the same as how they play in Road Trip, and so is Gigantus. If you collect all of Gigantus's parts, you just straight up become the boss from Road Trip. In fact, once somebody in City Trial becomes Gigantus, the stadium game for that trial will just be the boss fight, with everyone in the lobby fighting against the player who became Gigantus. This is one of the rarest events to happen in City Trial, and you're likely to never see it, but when it does, it's one of, if not the coolest thing the game allows you to do. Oh yeah, boss fights also got added to Stadium as games you can play, which is pretty cool. The last thing I want to talk about regarding Road Trip isn't actually unlocked by completing either ending of Road Trip, but it's a tad spoilery for the mode, so I waited till now to get to it. The secret unlockable track for this game is Galactic Nova. We start by traversing a light bridge that's overlooking a battle between Nova and a planet, before we rail grind into Nova's interior, where we actually get to traverse all around Nova's insides, before we end up at the core and drive right through it, causing Nova to explode. It's an insanely cool concept for a track, and actually having us blow up Nova again during the race is a really fun detail to include. The track also leads more credence to Nova being a bit of a prick, as he's just at war with a planet for some reason. Like, dog, what are you doing?
With the story mode done, I've covered all the main modes this game has to offer, so that just leaves all the extras and bonus features this game has. And Jesus, there's a lot.
Each of the main modes, excluding Road Trip, have both casual and ranked online play, which is to be expected. What's unexpected, however, is the third option for online play, Padlocks. Here you can hang out with other riders, spectate ongoing games, and register for games. It's basically a fighting game lobby. Man, you can tell Sakurai has been stuck making fighting games for 20 years. It's really fun to just hang out with people and spectate games together. What's actually crazy is that there's an exclusive Grand Prix mode only available to Padlocks. This is a genuine fixed number of tracks, whoever gets the most points wins kind of Grand Prix. And it's just locked behind an online mode. It's cool that it's even here to begin with, and actually very fun to play, but to lock it behind online is so bizarre. This feature was added in an update, so they could very well just add it to offline play later, so there's a bit of hope for that. Like most Sakurai-directed games, we also have a checklist here to complete. It's a fun little checklist to do and basically acts as the game's achievements. The rewards range from avatars to characters, so there's definitely motivation to do them other than it's fun. Not too much else to say about it. Oh yeah, since I mentioned it as one of the checklist rewards, might as well get to the license cards. These customizable cards are used as your profile during online play. It shows your username, online rank, whatever game mode you're playing, and your GWP. While you can get more customization options from checklist rewards, you can also just buy them, along with a bunch of other customization options from the Miles shop. Haven't mentioned it till now, but throughout the game, you can earn miles and gummies after completing races and city trial matches, with the higher you place giving you the more miles. The gummies you get don't really do much. They're kind of just fun rewards to get. The only thing you can really do with them is just mess around with them in the gummies mode, which is actually pretty fun. Anyways, here in the Miles shop, you can buy headwear to have on during races, machine parts to equip to your air ride machine, and music for the jukebox. Crazy how the one game that needed a jukebox the most didn't get one. Actually, to go deeper into the machine parts, you can customize a lot with every air ride machine. It's quite similar to CrossWorlds customization, but with two major differences that make this game's customization way better. First is that there are no limits to the customizations, so you can get pretty wild with the designs you want to make. Second is the fact you can actually share your designs with other people. Here in the machine market, you can list or purchase designs made by other people using your mile points. It might seem a bit odd to charge in-game currency for a sharing feature, but it's actually pretty fun here. The base price of a custom design starts off pretty low, but as more people purchase your vehicle skin, the higher the price will go. This then motivates players to either play the game more to get more miles points, or search the newer and cheaper machines to find hidden gems that people haven't found yet. It's a really good way to give new designs a chance to rise up and not be buried underneath stuff that was made in the first month of the game's release. Even if that system wasn't here, it's just fun to go through all these designs and see how creative some of them can be. There's a lot of Kirby specific designs because duh, but a lot of them are of Adeline and Ribbon, which is real sweet to see. Lots of Pokemon specific designs too. If you couldn't tell, a lot of the designs people make are fandom related. There's some Deltarune, Toho, Persona, Vocaloid, Chainsaw Man, and so many more. With how many wonderful designs people have made, you would want to try to show off some of the best stuff you find. While you could just do that during any of the modes, they're going to be obscured by your rider. So to truly show off your favorites, you need to put them in the garage. Garages allow you to show off some of your favorite air ride machines, along with any custom designs people have made. It's a great way to present the best designs you find, and just admire them more. I just love the customization so much in this game, and I'm so happy people have really experimented and gotten creative with so many designs. An interesting tidbit about this game is, unlike Mario Kart World, we have amiibo support here. The functionality is basically the same how it is in Smash Bros, with you having a CPU you can train up. The only differing factor here is that with every new amiibo you scan, you get a new icon for the menu. I'm not really interested in that part of the amiibo, I'm more interested in the physical toy itself. And wow, these things are massive! They take up my entire palm, and they're also really high quality. You can really see this in the different texturing they give certain parts of the amiibo, like Bandana D's bandana. Oh, I haven't even gone to the selling point of the Kirby Air Riders line. The main gimmick of the Kirby Air Riders line is that you can take off the riders from their air ride machines and swap them onto a different one. It's similar to how Skylanders Swap Force did their swapping mechanic, even down to how it changes what appears in-game. But it definitely doesn't have the same wow factor as Skylanders, not to mention how Skylanders were $12 and not $50. Yeah, so the biggest downside and complaint about the Kirby Air Riders line of amiibo is the price, and yeah, it's not good. They should not be $50. I'm pretty sure even Nintendo knows this fact, as the Meta Knight Kirby Air Riders figure is $45 instead of $50. But then again, they did decide to make DDD $55, making him the most expensive amiibo to ever be released. I get that they're priced like this because of the NFC chips, the swap technology, and maintaining the high qualityness of the figures, but man, if I'm going to spend this much money on a figure, I would rather just get a Nendoroid, a Papa Parade figure, or hell, even a high quality plushie. I think if they changed the price to $30 or even $40, it would be a bit better, but right now, only get these amiibo if you really like Kirby. Which I do. Pray for my wallet.
And that was everything Kirby Air Riders has to offer, and my God, was it a lot. There is no denying just how packed this game is of content and how all that content is good. Genuinely, there aren't that many negatives I can give this game, other than maybe have a few more riders in the roster to fully represent the Kirby franchise, but the game doesn't really need that. It's honestly perfect the way it is. If you want the best possible experience of a kart racer, this is your game right here. It has something for everyone, and I cannot recommend it enough.
So of all the big kart racers talked about, which one would I say is the best out of the... It's Kirby Air Riders. You've seen the runtime of the video. You've seen how long I talk about Kirby. It's obviously Kirby Air Riders. Kirby Air Riders has some of the most fun, chaotic, and engaging gameplay I've ever seen in a kart racer. The racetracks are some of the most creative I've seen. City Trial is the best Battle Royale mode I've ever played in a video game. It has a story mode that also acts as a roguelike mode, and the customization you can do to the machines paved the way for so many creative designs. With that said, it doesn't mean that the other two kart racers don't have their merits too. Mario Kart World is a really easy game to pick up and play, but if you truly master its parkour mechanics, you can perform some of the cleanest tricks and shortcuts ever seen in a kart racer. And Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is an insanely accessible and fun game that has one of the most insane rosters I've ever seen in a kart racer. All the kart racers here can be someone's favorite, and it's very clear to see why. It's just, personally speaking, Kirby Air Riders just is the best one out of the three. What else can I say? It's just the best. Yeah, so that's the video. Yep. Yeah, I'm not really good at ending these, so... Oh, how about this? I'm going to leave, and you just stay there. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get out. Bye.
Here he comes again, running like the ocean wind. Yeah, moving through the day, take a lead, you know he's on his way. Can you feel the heat when the tires hit the street, moving to the beat? All alone is the only way that he wants to play. Hear me say his name. Step back into Racer, I'll betray, he gives me what I need. One more when it's Racer, I'll betray, he's the one for me, there's no place I'd rather be. Yeah. To the finish line, everywhere you look, he's right on time. With a silent stare, blazing through the open air.